What's up, guys? Rex here. How do doctors discover a new drug treatment if we have no idea how the drug treatment even works? So that was my question this week when I learned about lithium as a treatment for a variety of mental illnesses, most notably being like the gold standard, awesome, very beneficial drug, really helping people's lives for especially the treatment of bipolar disorder. But in general, lithium is a very effective mood stabilizer. And we don't exactly know how it works. Lithium is interesting compared to most other drugs. When we think about drugs and how we typically learn about them in medical school, is that they either bind to a receptor and either be an antagonist or an agonist, partial agonist, something like that. But it's usually receptor mediated. But this is some sort of drug that looks like in some way or has a similar structure as some actual complicated organic protein or molecule or something like that. Lithium, on the other hand, is just an ion. It's a tiny ion, in fact. It is number 3 on the periodic table, and so it's right above sodium and potassium, and so it should have similar properties to this. And cells use sodium and potassium all the time to go through ion channels to change the charge and membrane potential of cells, and so there is significance. We use molecules like this inside of our bodies all the time. They are always regulating very complicated things, from action potentials to contractions of muscles, etc., etc. But we wouldn't really think of lithium being something that would necessarily have an impact on the brain and cognition and very complicated processes like that. So we don't know how this works. So I was wondering, how the heck was lithium even discovered if we have no idea how it works? And it also is something very counterintuitive to me, that if I was thinking of, all right, how do I treat some sort of mental illness? Why would I be reaching for an ion that is tiny, is basically just a little bigger than helium? Why would that have anything to do with it? So the story is actually super interesting, and so it has to do with Dr. John Cade, who was a psychiatrist in Australia. Now, it was known that you could use lithium to sort of disrupt the ability for uric acid to form crystals, and this could be a treatment for gout, which is the formation of these uric acid crystals in joints, etc. I actually haven't learned about gout, so hopefully that's correct. That's my real quick Google search understanding. But so I understand how that lithium could interfere with a crystalline structure and have some sort of effect like that. That is not remotely near the mechanism of action for how it is working in the central nervous system, in the brain, and helping patients that way. So totally different, but it is understood, okay, lithium, it does have an interaction with uric acid, so there is some known use, so he knew this. Now, this doctor, Dr. Cade, was doing research into how exactly bipolar disorder works and why it causes symptoms, especially mania. And so he's doing experiments where he was taking the urine from patients who have bipolar disorder and injecting them into rodents to try and figure out, all right, is there something in the urine that I can isolate? That maybe there is some metabolite that I can use and find out what is either elevated or maybe not present enough in these patients that is causing problems. So he was injecting the urine, and he saw that it was having some effect on these rodents. And he thought, all right, maybe I need to make sure that the uric acid isn't doing something weird and forming crystals. So I'll start adding lithium carbonate, which is just a salt. It will dissociate into lithium ions by itself right away. And so he was adding lithium carbonate to the urine just to make sure the uric acid didn't crystallize, and then injecting the urine plus lithium carbonate into the rodents and finding that it was having positive effects with the rodents' mood. And so he was like, oh, well, maybe this has something to do with it. And that is just such great basic science of making an observation and then forming a hypothesis of all right, why is this? The rodents that get injected with urine that has lithium carbonate in it do better than the rodents with just urine. Is it because lithium doing something with the uric acid? Is it because of the carbonate? Whatever. So he did the experiment, figured out that it was just the lithium ion, and then awesome, brave self-experimentation that he started in giving lithium to himself to identify a safe dose. And then being a psychiatrist, he decided to start testing on his patients and giving lithium to his patients with bipolar disorder, and was able to have awesome results. And now here we are, over 70 years later, still using lithium as this first line treatment, that it's just an observed effect. We know it works. We have tons of data, and it works thankfully really well and helps tons of people, even if we don't know how. And so there's a little bit of, art and science to medicine, of where we love when there is science and we understand exactly why it is, and we develop a drug because we have a hypothesis first. But we also love when we see an effect from some substance, and then we form a hypothesis afterwards saying it must be causal, and we do the experiments, we do the controls, we find out that it is, and we use it because we know it works, even if we don't know how. So we'll chalk lithium up there with acetaminophen that I am like shocked. We still in modern medicine have a drug that we use all the time. We know it works, we know it's safe, we know it's great. Don't know exactly how it works, but we continue to use it and we continue to help people with it. So if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, I'd love to hear about them down below. I'll read and respond to every single comment. If you want to catch more of these videos as they come out, I'll be talking about what I learned in medical school every Sunday. Make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell. As always, like the video if you like the video, dislike the video if you dislike the video. Until next time, don't be ordinary, go be great.